Algebra 1, Section 3.3. We're solving multi-step equations. Two goals. We're using two or more transformations. Remember, anytime you use a transformation, you're changing the equation from one step to the next. To solve these equations, and when we're using them in real life problems, we're just using them, we're modeling things that are happening. So we have solve 1/2 x minus 7 equals negative 10. Okay, normally you work your order of operations as parentheses and then exponents, followed by multiplication with division and then addition and subtraction. But when you undo something, you have to work that backwards. So you always look for any addition and subtraction first, and you work your way towards the group and symbols of parentheses. That's why it says to isolate the variable, undo the subtraction of 7 or minus 7 first, and then undo the multiplication because you work your order of operations backwards. So again, most of us don't write our problems out this way. Most of us work vertically instead of horizontally. So if this kind of stuff ever bothers you when you're filling out these sheets, just work them over here on the side and then you'll understand what it's supposed to say. So 1/2 x minus 7 equals negative 10. You know, to undo minus 7, you do the inverse of that and you add 7. And then you do the same thing to the right side. Notice that's the difference between working vertically versus horizontally, what they have for your blanks. When you cancel out negative 7, it leaves you with 1/2 x equals negative 3 now, because negative 10 plus 7 is negative 3. Then it says 1/2 times x. You would divide by 1/2. Remember, we said we can simplify that, or we can shorten that step up, and we can multiply by its reciprocal, which is 2 over 1. If you multiply the left, you have to do the exact same thing on the right. 2 over 1 is the same thing as 2, and when you multiply negative 3 times 2, you get negative 6. Again, that's just working vertically versus working horizontally, which is what they have written up there. So you get x equals negative 6. Again, the key to this is, instead of working, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, you work Aunt Sally, then my dear, then excuse, then please. You work them backwards when you're undoing a problem. Example number 2 says combining like terms first. Now with this one, before you start undoing something, before you start moving stuff across the equal sign, you always check to see if you can simplify one side. So you ignore the other side. You just look at 8x minus 5x plus 16, and you see, is there anything I can combine? You work normal order of operations that way, since you're not moving anything across the equal sign. So you combine 8x and negative 5x because there's no parentheses, there's no exponents, there's no multiplication and division that you can take care of, but you can add 8x and negative 5x, or you can subtract 5x from 8x, however you want to think about that. 8x combined with negative 5x is 3x. So then we have 3x plus 16 equals negative 29. Again, if the horizontal blanks mess with you, write it out here over on the side. 3x plus 16 equals negative 29. We know to undo something now, since there's nothing else we can combine. Normally you would do multiplication before you do addition and subtraction, but again, when you're undoing it, you take care of all your addition and subtraction first. So you have plus 16 subtracted. If you subtract it on the left, do likewise on the right. Negative 29 minus 16, and on the left side it'll cancel out and leave you with just 3x equals, now you have negative 45. Then undo, you have 3x equals negative 45. Undo 3 times something, because now, again, you did your addition and subtraction. You're looking for any multiplication and division now. So it says 3 times something. Undo that by dividing by 3. And do the same thing to the other side. Negative 45 divided by 3 is negative 15. So again, combining like terms first. Here's where it gets a little bit confusing, because you have to work normal order of operations. But then when you go across the equal sign, here's your equal sign here. Some people call it the river. They learned it as it goes across the river. When you go across the river, across the equal sign, you work order of operations backwards. This one's just using the distributive property first. So again, it's the same thing, except you look just at the left side of the equal sign and you see what you can simplify. You make negative 5 and you multiply it times x, or here. and negative 5 times 6. So we get negative 5x minus 30. Then do what we did on the last one. Combine 9x and negative 5x, and you get 4x. That's just combining the like terms 9x and negative 5x. So now everything's simplified on the left side. Now we need to start bringing things across the equal sign. 4x minus 30 equals negative 10. Undo minus 30 by adding 30. Again, if the blanks mess with you, write it on the side where you can see it. You would get rid of minus 30 by adding it, and do likewise to the right side, which will leave you with 4x. These will cancel, equals 20. So that's your addition. Then you want to get rid of 4 times something by dividing by 4. So divide by 4. Do the same thing to the right side. It'll cancel for you on the left. X equals 20 divided by 4 is 5. Notice on method number 1, every single step shown. On method number 2, some steps are done mentally. Just look and see what's there. Adding 30 to both sides was done mentally. Just see where it compares from the left side to the right side. Adding 30 to both sides and dividing by 4 on both sides gives you x equals 5. There's some steps you can easily do mentally and save yourself a lot of steps. Multiplying by reciprocal first. Now you have 24 equals 3/4 times x plus 7. Just said a few minutes ago that you work your order of operations backwards. You work any addition and subtraction first, then multiplication and division. But notice the addition and subtraction, the plus 7 that's happening on the right is inside of the parentheses. So that actually falls way at the end because it's in parentheses when you work your order of operations backwards. Notice P is the last thing you do. So since even though it's plus, it's at the end. So you have 3/4 times something. Again, you would divide by 3/4, or you would just go ahead and make it a little shorter and multiply 3/4 by its reciprocal. Remember, 3/4 is reciprocal is when you flip it, it becomes 4/3. So multiplying both the left, if you multiply the right side by 4/3, you have to do the same thing to the left side. You have to do it by both sides. It'll cancel it out for you on the right side. 4 will cancel out 4, 3 will cancel out 3, and you're left with x plus 7 on the right equals 4 times 3. The number 3 goes into itself once and into 24 8 times. So 4 times 8 is 32. So you have 32 equals x plus 7. Then get rid of plus 7 by subtracting it on the right. And if you subtract from the right, you have to subtract from the left. This will cancel on the right. X will be left. And 32 minus 7 is 25. And we have a bunch of checkpoint problems. Again, think about simplifying entire sides and then move things across the equal sign. So 3/4 minus x equals 19. I'm sorry, 3 minus 4x equals 19. Remember, you need to do undo addition and subtraction first. This plus, or the positive, the fact that this says 3 minus 4x equals 19, the minus doesn't tell you what to do. The fact that this is positive tells you what to do. Undo that positive or plus 3 by subtracting it. If you do it to the left, do the same thing to the right. It'll cancel on the left and leave you with not 4x, but negative 4x. Remember the sign in front of it. Negative 4x equals 19 minus 3 is 16. So you have negative 4x equals 16. Undo negative 4 times something by dividing by negative 4. If you do it to the left, divide the right, and x equals a negative divide, or positive divided by negative is a negative 4. Then we have 40 equals 29 plus 1/3 x. So again, you want to undo any addition and subtraction first. So before we undo 1/3 times something, we're going to undo the fact that it says positive 29 or plus 29. Remember, that sign tells you what to do, not the plus in between them. So undo plus 29 by subtracting 29. If you do it to the right, subtract by 29 on the by 29 on the left. So 40 minus 29 is going to be 11. equals 1/3 x, because 29 minus 29 cancels out. Now that says 1/3 times x. Undo that by dividing by 1/3, but remember that means to multiply by the reciprocal, 3/1. If you multiply the right, multiply the left by the reciprocal, 3/1, which is the same thing as 3, and 3 times 11 is 33. Then you have to distribute first. It says 7 times x minus 1. So distribute. 7 times x is 7x. 7 times -1 is -7 equals 49. So we simplified the left side. Now let's start undoing. Undo -7 by adding 7. If you add 7 to the left, add it to the right, it leaves you with 7x equals 56. Then undo 7 times something by dividing by 7. Do it to the left, do the same to the right. X equals 8. Number 4, you have to undo, or you have to simplify everything on the left first. So -2 times 3 is -6. We'll go a little faster this time. -2 times -x is positive 2x equals 30. Undo -6 or -6 by adding it. If you add it to the left, add it to the right. 2x equals 36. 36. Then undo 2 times something by dividing by 2. If you do it to the left, do it to the right. X equals 18. So get rid of 2/5 times something by multiplying by the reciprocal first. So we have 2/5 times x plus 23 equals 8. Multiply the whole thing by the reciprocal, 5/2 first. So that'll leave us with x plus 23 on the left equals, these will cancel out. 2 goes into itself 1 time and into 8 4 times. So 4 times 5 is 20. Get rid of plus 23 by subtracting 23. And if you subtract the same on the left as the right, you'll be left with x on the left equals -3. And do the same thing with this one. Get rid of -4/7 by multiplying by its reciprocal. Multiply the right side by -7/4 and the left side by -7, running out of room now, over 4. So we can cancel out. 4 goes into itself 1 time and into 16 4 times. -7 times 4 is -28 on the left. That's a whole lot easier to deal with. Equals, these will cancel each other out. X minus 19. Get rid of -19 by adding it to the right. Add the same to the left. Have opposite signs, so subtract. 28 minus 19 is 9, and 28 is farther from 0, so it'll stay as a -9. Number 7 says 3/2 x plus x equals -15. You have to combine your like terms first. 3/2 x plus, this is 1x. So 3/2 x plus 1 is the equivalency of 3 or of 2/2. And the reason I say 2/2 is because you want it to be the same denominator. We know 2 divided by 2 is 1, but notice the denominators at the bottom are the same now. They're both 2. So 2/2x equals -15. Add up. 3 plus 2 is 5. And keep your common denominator 2x. So 5/2x, just combining your like terms, 3/2 x and 2/2x equals -15. Then multiply by the reciprocal, 2/5. It'll cancel out on the left. 2 cancels 2 and 5 cancels 5. Multiply the right by the exact same thing, 2/5. This will simplify because the number 5 goes into itself once and into negative 15 3 times. So negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. Undo plus 10 by subtracting it. Do the same to the right side. So you have 5 over 2. I'm going to separate this 5 over 2x instead of letting it say 5x over 2. 5 over 2x is the same thing. Equals 5. Then multiply by the reciprocal. Keep it simple. 2 over 5. They'll cancel each other out. 5 goes into itself once and into itself once. So x equals 2 for that one. And then number 9. Negative 6 equals 10 minus x over 3. 2 steps. It's positive 10 or plus 10. Undo that by subtracting it. If you do it to the right, do the same to the left. Negative 16 equals negative x over 3. Remember, it doesn't matter where you put the negative, at the top or the bottom. I'm going to save a step right here by putting the negative at the bottom of it. So undo divide by negative 3 by multiplying by negative 3. If you do it to the right side, multiply the left by the same. Negative times a negative is a positive, and 16 times 3 is 48.